You are all much more elevated than me in all respects. I have no doubt about it. And it is my humble attempt to compile some of the teachings on the holy name. And we did a couple of sessions previously over the past several months. And this would be the concluding session. And I will also recap what we saw in the previous sessions on the holy name. So this is my humble service to all the devotees, and I seek your blessings, without which nothing useful, I am sure, will come out of my mouth. And the blessings of the devotees, the Guru Parampara, the Acharyas, and ultimately their lordships, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Narasimhadev, Sriman Mahaprabhu, and the Guru Parampara, for whose pleasure I will try to speak something. So we'll do a short kirtan before we start. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanatari. Yamuna Tira Vanatari. Yamuna Tira Vanatari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन नतीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा मदन मोहन राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय जय महाप्रभु जय महाप्रभु महाप्रभु जय महाप्रभु जय जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद महाराज लक्ष्मी नरसिंह Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन श्रीमान महाप्रभु श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तदा रजस्तमो भाव कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत एतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम Rama Rama Hare Hare. That's it, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So the topic for today's class is Mysteries of the Holy Name, the Path of Perfection. So we did last two parts on an introduction, and so I think the slides that are shown are for that. The ones that I sent now, Mataji, are these the ones that I sent now? Because this is for the first topic that we did. Okay, let me just, oh yes. Actually, can you scroll down to slide number, let me just tell. Slide number 42. Yes, in the same file. It's the same deck in which all the 3 session slides are present. So first we did an introduction, which was, the goal was that to introduce the Sambandha with why the holy name, what is the holy name, and second we did the journey or abhideya, what is the process to chant the holy name, and we covered some topics like nama paradha and so on. And in today's session we will see the path to perfection or prayojana. What is the prayojana of chanting the holy name? It is Krishna prema. That is why the holy name is being chanted, so that one attains prema and it is pleasing to Krishna. The goal of prema is to please Krishna. In that way, the chanting of the holy name is ultimately directed for the pleasure of their lordships. So first I would like to express my gratitude to all my Shiksha Gurus for their compassion, tolerance, and constantly educating me and dispelling my ignorance. Especially to Srivas Pandit Prabhuji for giving me the opportunity to share these lessons from the Acharyas and the Guru Parampara. And Ramanand Sakha Prabhuji for his enlightening discussions on the holy name. And my gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON and BBT, without whom I would have never imagined a life like this. And what to speak of being in the temple and learning about the holy name. And the acharyas in general, they have a wealth of writings that they have shared with the world, and painstakingly so. And through that they bring out the nectar of the Lord's holy names and pastimes. And especially to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur for the invaluable realizations he shared in his writings. And most of the today's presentation will be based on many of his books, in addition to Srimad Bhagavatam that's given by Srila Prabhupada. And to Bhanu Swami Maharaj for his inspiring and tireless translations. So many of the books have been translated by Maharaj into English. And especially Harinam Chintamani, Bhajan Rahasya, Sammodana Bhashya, which is a commentary on the Shikshashtakam by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, and other references like Madhurya Kadambini, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, and of course Srimad Bhagavatam. And to Sachinandan Maharaj for inspirations on the Nama, and to my devotee friends who constantly keep me honest in my endeavors for spiritual realization. And so thank you so much for all of you being part of this journey. So today's verse we will begin with is this one. Aho bata swapachoto gariyan yajjivagre vartate nama tubhyam te pusta puste juhvussasnurarya brahmanujurnama grinanti te. Maybe one of you can read the translation. There is a mic over there.
Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name, even if born in the families of dog-eaters. Such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of ions. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required.
So this verse, thank you Mataji for the translation. So this verse shows the esteemed position of the holy name, that even if somebody is circumstantially present in the most abominable situation, obviously like dog eaters is the extreme example that Bhagavatam is using to illustrate that the holy name has the power to purify even the lowest of the lowest. And even if they take one holy name, it is understood that they have read all the Shastras in their past, they have undergone all kinds of austerities, performed all kinds of sacrifices, and all the good qualities have come upon them. So in the past, they must have done all this. The meaning is they got the fruit of doing all this. So even if one goes through the entire repertoire of Vedic literature, it is to be understood that the conclusion of that is rasa, which is realized by nama. So nama is the essence of all the scriptures. And usually most people, they understand the Vedas to have dharma, artha, kama and moksha, the four pursuits of human life. And our acharyas explain that all these four pursuits serve an ultimate purpose. Actually, they are looking for rasa, because of which they are trying to find this in these four pursuits, which are anyway temporary as well. And so rasa is the ultimate fifth purpose of the entire Vedic literature. And that is attained by taking the nama. So the nama is most glorious, and everything else exists to serve the holy name. And that is very the very esteemed position of the holy name. It's not like we don't have anything better to do in life, therefore we chant. The whole life is meant for chanting. So that is the import that Srimad Bhagavatam is conveying to us. So this is another beautiful verse which goes a little bit more into how this process works. Sankirtyamano bhagavanananta shrutano bhavo vyasanam hi pumsam pravishya chittam vidhunota shesham yatha tamorko brahmam ivati vata. So one of you can read the translation, please.
When people properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or simply hear about His power, the Lord personally enters their hearts and cleanses away every trace of misfortune, just as the sun removes the darkness, or as a powerful wind drives away the clouds.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this verse illustrates that Sankirtya Mana, or the proper way in which the Sankirtan has to be done, or the chanting of the holy names has to be done. And what happens by proper chanting is Pravishya Chittam Vidhunotya Shesham. So the Krishna, in the form of the Sankirtan, enters into the Chitta of the living being and purifies it. And how, what kind of purification, how it happens? Just like darkness is removed by light of the sun, or clouds are dispelled by the power of the wind. Krishna says that Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mamupayanti Te. So those who are constantly engaged in His holy names, in His holy pastimes, Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, who does that in a favorable way, in a way that is dear to Krishna. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Gives them the buddhi by which they come to him. After that, immediately the next verse he says, Tesham evanu kampartam aham agyana jamtama nashyam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. In a dark room that is completely filled with darkness, nothing visible, pitch dark. The moment you light a lamp, everything in the room is revealed, including the light as well. The lamp is also revealed by the lamp. So, in this way, when the heart is filled with darkness of ignorance, avidya, and one takes up to chanting favorably with faith, what happens is Krishna is a person. He knows that we are endeavoring. He is not heartless. He is in fact the most merciful in the form of the Nama. He notices the endeavor of the living entity. He personally undertakes the cleansing of the heart. How does he do that? Nashyam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. By lighting the lamp of spiritual knowledge. Divya jnana hriday prakashito. In the form of the Guru, Krishna dispels the ignorance from the heart by lighting the lamp of knowledge. And this removes the darkness in the heart, the ignorance, the anarthas. And we will see furthermore how this is done in a sequence. So this is a recap from the past. So first we discussed about the role of Chitta. The whole of the yogic process is centered around Chitta. Why yogic process? Because yoga involves connection. In Nama, we are connecting with the holy name. So it is Bhakti Yoga. In fact, the most prominent limb of Bhakti Yoga, Kirtana, Japa, this is the most prominent limb of Bhakti Yoga. So Chitta is that layer that engulfs the Atma when the Atma enters in the material realm. So it is a Atma entering in the Mahat Tattva. That whole covering is called Chitta. And this Chitta is the closest neighbor of the Atma, materially speaking. And it is compared to a crystal by Patanjali or water by Bhagavatam. And the property of the crystal or water is that whichever object is shown to it, some of the properties are reflected in the crystal or water. For example, if I show a particularly colored object, the color is assumed by the reflective surface. So this Chitta, because it's very proximate to the soul, it becomes the agent of the soul, or the agency by which the soul acts in this material world. And it possesses the doership or kartritva. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Karya karana kartritve hetur prakriti ruchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktritve hetur ruchyate. He says that the endeavors that are being done in the material world, all the activities that are being done in the material world are by the material energy. And the Atma is just a witness and the experiencer of it. And he says this in multiple places in the Bhagavad Gita, even in the analogy of the chariot, where the charioteer is present, the buddhi is present, driving the chariot. The Atma who is sitting in the chariot is not doing anything, but witnessing the whole drama that's unfolding and experiencing what is happening. And when this Chitta, the closest neighbor of the soul in the material realm, is contaminated by attachment to matter, rajas, tamas, then the watery surface starts to develop waves or get polluted by contamination and becomes more opaque. So the wavy nature of the water does not lend itself to reflect the object clearly. We will see that this is also related to how Nama unfolds in the life of an insincere chanter as well. And the pollution or opaqueness that is caused, that obstructs the light from being reflected purely. And this Chitta needs to be steadied. And that's why Patanjali defines the process of yoga as yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the process by which the waves in the chitta are steadied, or the restless watery chitta is steadied. And what happens when the water is steadied? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in the first verse of Shikshashtakam, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Then it starts functioning like a mirror. So the extremely non-moving waters, to the extent it can reflect light, it acts like a mirror. And when it is completely clear, it acts like a clear mirror that can show the object of reflection. It can show oneself, and it can show oneself in relation to the Supreme Lord. And this reflects the spiritual truth in relation to the Supreme. So Sridhar Swami explains that the pure Chitta has the capability of Bhagavad Bimba Grahitvam. It can capture the image or the reflection of the Supreme Truth. So it is endowed with the special property. And therefore, it's important to keep the Chitta pure. And we'll see how this is related to Nama as well. And the second thing we discussed, this is the first thing that we discussed was part of Sambandha, and this is part of the Abhideya. So Nama is pure like the sun. We just saw that in the Sankirtyamano verse. But those who accept this Nama, they are different types, not necessarily perfectly pure. And hence, Nama is given different types of names. Shuddha Nama, the person who is chanting is pure, therefore the pure holy name is manifesting in them. And what is the result of the manifestation of pure holy name? It gives prema. And the next stage of Nama, which is of an inferior type compared to Shuddha Nama, is Nama Abhasa. And in that stage, if the person continues chanting with faith, but still lacking some knowledge or purity, eventually the Nama will show the way to attain Shuddha Nama, which gives prema. So in this is an intermediate stage where there is some knowledge, some purity, some faith, but it has not attained perfection. And the lowest type is called Nama Aparadha. So when the Chitta is so contaminated by darkness and so opaque that it pretty much is unable to reflect the true essence of the holy name, then that kind of a situation is where there is distorted faith or partial faith. The image of the holy name that manifests in the person is giving a partial result or a distorted result. And the result is, for example, if somebody is chanting with the intention, we see from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that if somebody is chanting with the intention of wanting to become Krishna, or the impersonal aspect, thinking that Krishna is impersonal, let me merge into him. So that is actually taking them away from prema. Because for prema to be exchanged, there need to be two entities. One who is the giver of prema, other is the receiver of prema. And when two entities do not exist, in the Mayavad philosophy, when everything just tries to become one, there it is actually an offensive stage to prema. And but Nama is Chintamani. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. Because Nama is Chintamani, it gives the result that those people are looking for as well. Though it is not the purpose of Nama, which is to give prema, therefore it gives such people Mukti Abhas as well. So it gives them the feeling of merging in the Brahman temporarily. And those who commit intentional offenses to the holy name are eventually they end up in Maya. So we just saw how Bhagavatam explains that by Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, one attains nishta, and by nishta, Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayaschaye Cheta Etairana Viddham. The Cheta or the Chitta is not affected by the Rajas or Tamas when it is elevated. But by committing offenses to the Nama, the Chitta is going in the opposite direction. So it is going more into rajas and tamas, more into maya. Therefore, it's important to take the nama properly. And Haridas Thakur explains that understanding namabhas and the aparadhas is necessary to take up Shuddha Nama. In most cases, one needs to have the understanding of this to be able to proceed toward chanting the Shuddha Nama. So, namabhas, we saw that the causes of namabhas are primarily classified into two. One is like the mist, which reduces the intensity of the sun rays that fall on the person. And this is compared to the ignorance the person has. And the other cause are anarthas, which are compared to clouds. They block the rays of the sun. Therefore, there is only partial illumination that's coming. And the ignorance occurs in 4 types. So these are the tattva vibramas, which means the person has incomplete or an incorrect understanding of 4 tattvas. What tattvas they are? Swatattva, which is about their own spiritual identity, understanding that they are actually spiritual parts and parcels of Krishna. Next is the Paratattva, or the identity about the Supreme Lord, the source of everything, who has a form and who also manifests as formless, but who primarily has the form. And this is the Paratattva. And the Sadhya, or the Tattva of Prema. What is prema and why prema? And sadhana tattva, how to follow the process to attain prema. So these 4 tattvas Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions. The knowledge of these is essential to dispel the mist of ignorance. And by the serious practice of nama sadhana, slowly this will get dispelled. So the nama arranges for the guru, the nama arranges for the knowledge, the nama arranges for prema as well. So by taking shelter of the holy name sincerely, this will dispel. And the external process for this that's prescribed is to take shelter of the guru and understand the tattva of all these 4 and correct the incorrect notions about these 4 tattvas. And the other cause we saw are that there is a cloud of anarthas. So the anarthas come from past conditionings, present circumstances, and so on. And these clouds, they block the rays of the sun, and very faint light of the holy name falls on the person. And these are classified by Bhaktivinoda Thakur into 3 types. One is Trishna, or intense attachment for matter, material things. And this could be gross or subtle. Attachment for like the opposite sex, for money, for so all these things are gross, which visible. Attachment for fame, something else like increasing one's ahankara, or attachment for thinking that I know best. So all these are anarthas, and they are an obstacle on the progress to Shuddha Nama. The second is Hridaya Daurbalya. Hridaya Daurbalya is weakness of heart. Sometimes we may know that this is the right thing to do. I should not use my phone while chanting. But the conditioning is so strong that as soon as the phone rings or there is a beep, we leave everything else in the world and run behind it as if that is Krishna. So, and therefore that is a weakness of heart that needs to be overcome as well. And aparadhas, these are the serious ones. Aparadhas are also classified under namabhas, but they are also separately classified in the sense they are lower. So namabhas gives a different result, and aparadhas give a different result as well. So that's why you see aparadhas in the section as the causes of anarthas, which are the causes of namabhas as well. So solution for this is, as we discussed, it's dispelled by Guru. The ignorance is dispelled by Guru. And the anarthas are purified in the association of advanced devotees and further japa with faith. We'll see eventually there's a beautiful verse, Bhaktya Sanjataya Bhaktya. So from doing sadhana bhakti, one cultivates bhava bhakti. Or by doing japa with faith, one eventually attains the Shuddha Nam. So that's why we saw in the table that the result of Namabhas done properly is Shuddha Nam. And the other thing we saw is the types of Namabhas. So sometimes people chant without faith, like devotees are going to distribute books and oh, these Hare Krishnas. So this is not necessarily having faith in the holy name, and they may be addressing somebody who is not Krishna as Krishna sometimes, like Ajamila did. So in Ajamila's case, he was addressing his son as Narayana, though Narayana refers to the, in the absolute sense, is the name of the Lord, and the name is absolute, and that is Sanketa, or indirect reference. And Parihasa is joking. So the example is given that of Jarasandha. So jokingly, like called Krishna. That also is counted as Namabhas. Stobha is derision. And this is the example that's given is of Shishupal, who mockingly addressed Krishna. And Hela is disrespect. Sometimes people disrespectfully address the holy names, and this is a progressive order. So the least offensive or the least harmful is Sanketa, and the most is Hela. And the result of chanting the Nama without faith by these stages is it gives liberation. So even this without faith, if somebody is taking Nama, the result is they can get liberation. But that is not the purpose of Nama, to descend in this world. It is to give prema and or divine love. So sometimes people have partial faith. This is called Chaya Shraddha. Or there is faith, but it is not complete. There is partial faith. And the nature of such practice of taking Nama is the anarthas are present. The devotee is struggling to stay awake, struggling to focus, and so on. But because of being sincere, the sadhaka progresses. They get to know of the offenses, and they take active measures to remedy the offenses that delay the progress otherwise, and they gradually elevate to the Shuddha Nama. And otherwise, the person who is continuing offenses, despite having knowledge of them, is destining themselves for fall down. And with some Shraddha, when the person is chanting, the result is the faith becomes steady first. So one is completely convinced that Nama and Rupa, or the form and the name designating the form, are non-different. And that results slowly in attraction and taste for the form. So there are different ways mentioned how the darshan of the form has to be taken. Narad Muni mentions this to Dhruv Maharaj when he gives the Bhagavate Vasudevaya mantra in Bhagavatam. And so the deity form helps in building attraction and taste for Nama. Of course, the deity form also descends for the purpose of reciprocating with the devotee's love. But by serving the deity form, one also develops attraction and taste for Nama. And eventually, by Krishna's grace, the devotee with partial faith, because of their sincerity and the power of the holy name, attain Shuddha Nama. And the third category is those whose faith is distorted or perverted. It's pratibimba. And here, the fundamental motive is corrupt, in the sense they don't want to get prema, but they are seeking to become Krishna and enjoy the benefit of prema of the devotees and so on. So there is no attitude to serve there, but there is the attitude only to enjoy. Therefore, those who have strong bhukti and mukti, or the attachment for material desire, or the attachment for liberation, or merging into the Supreme, becoming the Supreme, that is the nature of distorted faith. And because of that, Nama, still being like a Chintamani, gives them the what they are looking for, which is merging into the Supreme, though it is pretty much condemned along the path of prema or divine love. And now that we saw all these different stages previously, the immediate next step for the aspirants of prema is to avoid offenses and strive for nishta, or steadiness in chanting. And offenses, we went through several of the offenses last time. So, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that inattention, pramada, is the root cause of all the offenses. They do not allow the practitioner to attain nishtha, because one is intentionally, in a sense, offending the holy name. You invite a guest to the home and then you do everything else but attend to the guest. So obviously the guest feels offended. The holy name is Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The holy name is conscious. Of course, the holy name is Krishna. The holy name is conscious of what we are trying to do with it or with him. And therefore, when Nama gets offended, it is not possible to attain constant chanting. Such a person usually loses taste for other activities of bhakti as well, starting from the Nama. They don't feel like chanting, they don't feel like serving, they don't feel like taking association of the devotees. So this happens when somebody intentionally commits offenses to the holy names and not take any measures to remedy them. And inattention is the root cause of such offenses. And this manifests in 4 stages. Audasinya is indifference. And the remedy that is given for people who are indifferent to chanting is to take association of a devotee who chants properly, who gives the due respect to the holy name. And it's very small font size, the text. So let me also look up from here. Yeah, and the other remedy that's given for indifference is to isolate oneself, cover all the senses and chant attentively. Isolate oneself does not necessarily mean physical isolation, but isolation of consciousness, to focus on the holy name and give due attention, be conscious, be aware of the presence of the holy name in the life. And this develops nishta and ruchi slowly. The second manifestation of inattention is it creates laziness. And okay, I have my rounds to chant. I have so many other things to do in life. Maybe when they get over, I can finally focus on the holy name. So the person keeps procrastinating, and that is associated with the laziness or not realizing the urgency of the holy name. And this is remedied by taking association of devotees who don't waste time on other activities and constantly understand the urgency and chant the japa. And third is restlessness. So inattention is also caused because the mind is busy with so many other things. So mind is restless because mind wants to plan for many other things, because mind thinks that I know best, I am the best plan maker out there. And because of having that attachment to our material things, so it becomes difficult for the mind to develop the focus and be attentive while chanting. The remedy that's given for this is to follow rules and regulations like Ekadashi Vrata and chanting and listening to the scriptures to understand the glory of the holy name. And slowly by that the person becomes little bit detached from the restlessness, turbulence of the mind, and this allows the person to chant with attention. And the worst of all is described is attachment to me and mine. Shrute api nama mahatmaye yaf preti rahito nara aham mamadi paramo namni so aparadhakrit. So aham mamadi paramo is the attachment to me and mine. In the sense here, one considers themselves to be the most worthy compared to the holy name as well. So that kind of self-obsession leads to intense furthering of the attachment as well. the remedy for this is given is to aspire for the principles of Sharanagati. Anukulyasya sankalpam pratikulyasya vivarjanam rakshashatiti vishvaso goptritve varanam tatha atmanikshaypakarpanyo shadvidam sharanagati. So shadvida sharanagati. So these 6 principles of accepting that's favorable to bhakti, rejecting that's not favorable, and having faith that Krishna will always protect through his holy name, and that he is the maintainer. It's not my plans that are maintaining this universe, but it's his plan that's maintaining it. And feeling the reality, which is our humble state. Even this planet is such a small speck in front of the entire universe, and many such universes emanate from the pores of Mahavishnu. And what to speak of like one tiny soul. So one understands these things, and slowly the attachment to material things will reduce. And the other remedy that's given is to serve those who are in the renounced order of life, and those who have surrendered their lives for propagating the holy names of the Lord. So, okay. And how is nishta attained? Because this is what is the goal of trying to do anartha nivritti. It's not just like my goal is to become pure because I want to just become pure. It's so that the service and pleasure of serving Krishna is uninterrupted. How is that uninterrupted service developed? Trinadapi shunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is illustrating by his Shikshashtakam of what should be the mood of a devotee who aspires for nishtha. The devotee should not be absorbed in their own self-importance, but to understand that they are just tiny. Haridas Thakur mentions this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So not thinking too much about oneself. So, or considering one to be insignificant. So even lower than a blade of grass, free from any notion of pride. And this is what is understanding the nature of reality. Yes, we are definitely worthy beings because we are parts and parcels of Krishna, who has endowed us with some or the other talent, some or the other good qualities. At the same time, everybody else is also like that. And understanding this reality that we are all parts and parcels of Krishna, and our goal is to serve the whole, then one can cultivate the humility. Taro riva sahishnuna, being tolerant like a tree. So being tolerant like a tree, taro riva sahishnuna. So trees stand the hot and cold weather alike, whether or not they like it. So developing tolerance means being able to go against our likes and dislikes to be able to serve the higher purpose, which is to serve Krishna and the devotees. So that is tolerance. And amanina manadena. So when a person is not giving that much importance to themselves, they are just doing what is needed and their due diligence to maintain themselves and be engaged in service, naturally they would not expect honor for themselves, or and they would give all honor to others, understanding that they are the source of good fortune in their life, and that state is prideless. And in such a state, one can actually chant the holy names, kirtaniya sadahari. So this is extremely important. And by attaining, by developing these qualities and avoiding the offenses toward sadhus in general, devotees in general, and one cultivates nishtha. And what is this nishtha? What is this steadiness? So nishtita bhajana kriya or nishta is attained after nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. After one removes all the abhadras or inauspicious things. Subhadra is most auspicious. Abhadra are inauspicious things. So when abhadras are removed, and what are these? Laya, sleep, vikshepa, speculative tendencies, apratipatti or indifference toward the holy name, kashaya, sinful habits, trying, getting in the way of developing healthy practices for chanting, rasaswada, having the material rasa. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So so this is the slide. And rasaswada, having the taste remaining for material enjoyment. And when these things are gradually destroyed, nishta automatically develops. It's like fire. It's compared to fire. The potency of fire is it illuminates as well as purifies. So, and this nishta needs to be developed in body, speech as well as mind. So slowly, one's practices that one is following for bodily needs need to be steadily in union with Krishna consciousness. The speech one undertakes, the thoughts one undertakes. When slowly one progresses toward connecting them constantly with Krishna, Nitya Yuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, Krishna says. Then Krishna takes care. When one is striving to develop a connection, develop a relationship, it's only natural for the other person who is most merciful to reciprocate. And though Krishna is independent, he is Swarat, but still for his devotees he is always available. He says this, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayeshu va yatra mad bhaktaha gayanti tatra tishtamyaham narada. Where my devotees are singing, trying to connect with me, that's where I am there. Not that I am present in, wherever there is no misery, or in the hearts of like yogis who are dependent on their own power to attain something. But those who are surrendered to me, those who are trying to achieve that divine communion, divine union with me, I am always there for them and I am always there in them. So Krishna is giving that assurance. And what happens when Krishna comes is that rajas and tamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye, the desire for other things slowly starts vanishing. Cheta etairana vidham, the chitta does not seem to get affected. Oh, this person has so much wealth, this person has so many beautiful things in their life. Oh, like so many sense objects are around. So all these things will be there, but they don't bother. The person becomes grave like the ocean. Apuryamana achala pratishtam samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. All these desires, all these sense objects, they are floating like rivers and entering into the ocean. But the ocean is as stable as it is, as it used to be, as it will be. And this is the state of such a devotee who has attained steadiness, that despite any distractions that come their way, they are not distracted. Okay. And what happens when one is not distracted is slowly they will start attaining Ruchi. So by Ruchi, what does it mean? It means taste. We just saw that nishta is like fire. When the fire purifies, what the purity that is being developed is of what? What is it leading to? It is leading to Ruchi or taste. So one starts liking things in bhakti. One does not feel fatigued by doing activities of bhakti. Oh, I have chanted enough rounds. Finally I am done. This is like, taking the bead bag and keeping down is like it's relieved me of my so much burden in my heart. So that is there because there is no taste. And when the taste is developed, there are two stages as well. One is the taste for an object that has material attributes. For example, if somebody is chanting kirtan, some people listen to it because they like the tune, they like the music, it just keeps them going, they like the beats of the mridanga. So this is ruchi for the object which has material attributes. The more advanced stage of ruchi is the Ruchi for the objective, not the object. And the objective is actually bhajana, the nama. So no matter how melodious the kirtan may sound or how non-melodious it may sound, the person is still focused, still experiencing, relishing the taste of the bhajan, the nama. It is beyond externality and it is the more advanced form of Ruchi. What happens when a person attains this Ruchi, taste in activities of bhakti? So that is expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the 4th verse. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatad bhaktirahaytuki tvai. Such a person is not looking for the wealth of this world, nor followers, nor material beauty. What is the person looking for? Not even knowledge, not poetic wisdom, not any other kind of material desires. What they are looking for instead is Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rahituki Tvai. May I have unconditional service, unconditional bhakti in Krishna, in the Supreme Lord. So that is what the person who has attained Ruchi is looking for. And this happens when one starts giving up material attachments, and this is a very high stage, and because we are discussing prayojana today, so we are entering into this. And so the person starts giving up material attachments. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. All the abhilasha, all the desires they have, which include relying upon their mind and their intellect as the whole and soul. So those things are also given up, and whatever Krishna wants, whatever devotees want, the person is striving for that. By that, their mind, intellect, everything gets spiritualized as well. Mayi eva mana adatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayi eva, ata urdhvam na samshaya. Tesham aham samuddharta, mrityu samsara sagarat, bhavami na chirat parta, mayi aveshita chetasam. When one is invested in Krishna, through their mind, through their intellect, everything, Krishna says such a person resides in him and he resides in such a person. So that's the beauty. When one gives up material attachments, it's not just giving up, it's also accepting Krishna. And by that, the byproducts are that one gives up material attachments or develops vairagya. And this aham mamadi paramo is also reflective of this same thing, which is considering me as the whole and soul. Everything is there to serve me. And this kind of self-obsession, unhealthy like state of mind is remedied through vairagya and giving up material attachments. And this is a byproduct of what happens when one attains Ruchi, or taste for spiritual knowledge, taste for the holy name and the bhakti kriya, the activities of bhakti. And this leads to spiritual attachment. So when we have taste for something and we engage with it, that develops a yoga between the person and the object, and or the objective. So that leads to asakti or attachment, and this attachment is spiritual. Ultimately, the living entity is invested in something or the other. When the living entity is invested in matter, that is bonding, or that is bondage. And when the living entity is invested into spiritual things like sadhus and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and so on, the holy name, then it is spiritual attachment. And prasangam ajaram pasham atmanak kavayo vidu sayeva sadhushu kruto mokshadvaram apavritam, Bhagavatam says. The same attachment, when it's directed toward the sadhus, the spiritual reality, is liberating. So the person is anyway attached. Tatastha Shakti means the marginal energy is anyway attached to something or the other. So if the object of attachment by divine grace happens to be spiritual, the person also progresses along that path. And this is the stage of asakti, where the person is developed spiritual attachment. And this stage is described from the Bhakti Lata Bija, the seed of bhakti, the plant of bhakti starts growing by Shravana, Kirtana and all these processes, by listening, by chanting and everything. And once this plant starts growing and showing signs of budding, or buds arise, this is the stage when the Chitta is actually favorable to reflect the supreme truth. It's clear. Cheta eter anaviddam sthitam sattve prasidati. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnanam to sangasya jayate. Bhagavatam says that this is the favorable point where the Bhagavad Bimba, or the reflection of the absolute truth, is reflected in one's own consciousness without any perversion, distortion, or pollution. So basically, the Rajas and Tamas have steadied, and the person has attained complete sattva in this stage. And the buds, the budding stage. And the objective is the Lord. It's beyond any externalities, beyond validation and respect. Kulashekar Maharaj prays, Chittam naiva nivartate kshanamapi Shri Krishna padambujan nindantu priya bandhava gurujana grahnantu munchantu va durvadam parighoshayantu manuja vamshe kalankostu va tadrak prema dharanuragadhuna mattayamanam tumi. He says that let my mind not be deviated from Krishna's feet even for a minute or even for a moment. Ittam naiva nivartate kshanamapi Shri Krishna padambujan. And conditioned upon what? Conditioned upon nothing else. Nindantu priya bandhava gurujana granantu munchantu va. Even if my dear ones, even if my superiors tell me that you are not doing your other material things that are required for furthering your material progress. So irrespective of all of those, Kulshekar Maharaj is praying that let my consciousness not be even distracted for a moment from Krishna's lotus feet. And this is the stage when one does not require validation or respect. Otherwise, everybody requires encouragement in bhakti. So when we glorify other devotees, it is pleasing to Krishna, and it is also uplifting for the devotees to know that they are doing things right and they are making progress. And when they attain the stage of asakti, this is when there is no need for any other validation or respect. Whether or not such a person is encouraged, they will always continue to do their sadhana because they have developed a great taste and attachment for it. And what is the attitude of such a devotee? They start seeing everything in relation to Krishna. So Krishna says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. He says that whoever sees me everywhere and whoever starts to see everything in me. When do you see everything in a person? When that person has become your world. So Krishna has become the world for such a person. Tasyaham na pranashyami. For such a person, I am always there. Sachamena pranashyati. And such a person is always there for me as well, Krishna says. So this is the beauty of attachment with Krishna, who never leaves his devotee. Name bhaktaf pranashyati. So this is what asakti does to the devotee. The devotee is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, having great taste and enthusiasm and delight to serve the Lord and his devotees. So this is the stage of asakti. And what is the symptom of this? Ayi nandatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrusham vichintaya. So the person starts feeling great separation. Krishna, when will I meet you? I am serving you as a deity, but I want you to reciprocate with me. I want you to play with me. I want you to hold my hand and I want you to walk with me. So this kind of asakti the devotee starts feeling, and depending on their rasa. Here Mahaprabhu is expressing the sentiment that the devotee is feeling extremely humble. And please, Krishna, please keep me as a particle of dust at your lotus-like feet. So this is what Mahaprabhu is expressing. And here in the stage of asakti, the person no longer has any material tastes for the most part. And only their wish is to be with Krishna, be with devotees. And Unfortunately, my circumstances are not favorable. I have fallen into this polluted ocean of material existence, or I am in a fallen condition. Please consider me as a particle of dust at your feet, and always keep me in your presence. And so by taking shelter of Krishna in such a manner, and the devotee gradually from the stage of asakti proceeds to what is called bhava. This is the most important stage of sadhana bhakti. In fact, it is the goal of sadhana bhakti. The goal of sadhana bhakti is to develop bhava. And what is this bhava? Is it just like a feeling, oh, I feel good, Krishna, you are here, it just feels so peaceful in the temple, and my mind is just feeling that, okay, let me be here for some time. Oh, after that I'm so bored, let me do something else. That's not what bhava is about. We'll see in bhava, the person doesn't even waste a minute not thinking about Krishna and devotees. It's a very mystical stage as well. This is what the spiritual awakening truly is. Bhagavatam mentions, Smarantas smarayantascha mito agaugha haram harim bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya vibharti utpulakam tanum utpulakam tanum. Sorry. So, this is an extremely important verse. We are chanting the holy name and we are trying with all sincerity. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us bhajana pranali, or like what is the process for chanting the holy name to attain the desired goal. There he explains that this bhava stage is extremely important and is attained how? Smaranam. When one's chanting also leads to contemplation on Krishna. And Krishna also mentions this. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So whatever bhava one is having while remembering something at the end of life, that is what the person attains. So this bhava is developed in relation to smarana. This is the secret, this is the key Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives, that the holy name chanting must deepen itself gradually into remembrance of Krishna, absorption into Krishna, and slowly the Nama, Rupa, Guna and Lila. We'll see in a minute how that unfolds. And by practicing sadhana bhakti with remembering and inspiring others to remember Krishna, smarantaha, smarayantaha, then what happens? Agauga haram harim. Hari removes all that is that unfavorable for developing that bhava. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. By this kind of bhakti, where one is sincerely striving to remember Krishna, what happens? Bhava bhakti develops. That is the eventually it leads to prema bhakti, but the bhava bhakti is developed. Vibharti utpulakam tanum, and the hair starts standing on the end. The person slowly starts remembering Krishna while chanting. So not just as a name which is made up of syllables, but actually the Chintamani Rupa and the Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Rupa of the holy name, which is the supremely conscious and cognizant form of the name, not different from Krishna, Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. That is what the person starts remembering. And this is exemplified in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. It's a quotation from Padma Purana, if I remember right. Smartavyas satatam Vishnor vismartavyam na jatuchit sarve vidhi nishedasyur etayoreva kinkara. So every rule and regulation, every prohibition, every rule that is there in the scriptures is for what? Smartavyam satatam Vishnor, smartavyas satatam Vishnor, or remembering the Lord always, vismartavyam na jatuchit, and never forgetting. And all the rules are there to achieve this objective. And why this smarana is so important? And it's most easily cultivated by japa or kirtana, because actually without smarana, in a sense, the japa is not complete. So kirtana is considered the highest for three reasons. Because it contains shravana. The shravanam is also included in the kirtanam. Because it contains smaranam. Shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam. The smaranam is also a part of the kirtana. And of course, the kirtana itself, which is glorifying the name, which is taking the name. So these three are integral to japa, integral to kirtana, integral to taking the holy name. So if the remembrance is not being invoked or evoked eventually, then it is not proceeding as it is supposed to in attaining the realization of bhava. So the stages of developing bhava summarized is the nama is like a bud when it's the journey started, when we get the holy name from either through preaching or through diksha we get the nama. It is like a bud that we get. By constantly chanting it, by developing nishtha without offenses, then what happens? One attains steadiness in the chanting, and there is slowly clearing of the chitta. It becomes sattva, and slowly the person starts developing the ruchi and asakti. The person starts experiencing delight. The nama is compared to the sugar candy, but the jiva being conditioned is unable to experience it. And by nishtha, the fire of nishtha purifying the mirror of chitta, the person starts to experience some of the taste of nama. And this nama deepens into smarana as well. So smarana also is included. So when Prabhupada says just chant and hear, that is how we should always do, and that itself will take care of invoking the remembrance. So eventually it the form of the Lord starts coming. And how the smarana is cultivated, the process is also given. And when we take darshan of the Lord, when we hear about the form of the Lord, which is all absolute, exquisite, limb to limb, when we start taking darshan like that, when we start developing attachment, this form not only stays when we take darshan, but also starts coming when we take the name, which is representing the form. And slowly the form starts spontaneously manifesting in the mind of the devotee. And this mind is still the material mind, the material chitta, but Krishna manifests in there first, and he cleans. How? Pravishtakarna randhrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna chalilasya yatha sharat. Krishna enters through the ears. And based on the bhava the devotee is aspiring for, or the devotee is experiencing, he clears away everything else that is unfavorable for that bhava. And swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti. So he clears based on the bhava the devotee is cultivating. And then what happens? As soon as the form spontaneously starts coming to the mind, Krishna automatically arranges for it to resemble his form, his actual form. The smarana results in darshana. So internally the person starts seeing Krishna. The rupa smarana results in rupa darshana eventually. And this is when the bud of the holy name starts opening up. And first thing that comes is the fragrance of the holy name. The fragrance is compared to the gunas of Krishna, the 64 qualities. And the person starts experiencing the qualities of Krishna. The compassion of Krishna brings tears in the eyes of the devotee. So this, and slowly the person starts meditating on Krishna's qualities as the chanting goes on. The chanting never stops. In the mind of the devotee or externally, the chanting continues, and slowly it goes from the smarana to darshana. The guna smarana leads to guna darshana along with the rupa. The form and the qualities manifest. And next, the fragrance of the bud is out, and next the nama reveals the flower that it is. And the flower is compared to the lila. And the devotee initially starts meditating on the lila at a particular location. For example, around this time, Krishna is in the forest with the gopas grazing the cows, and or sometime before, for example, the gopas have come to Krishna and to call him, let's go out, it's time for grazing the cows in Vrindavan. So that kind of a pastime, the devotee, according to their bhava, they choose a particular lila. This is called mantra dhyana mayi upasana, or this kind of meditation on a particular lila that is fixed in one location. And this deepens. Gradually the person starts witnessing that as well as the other leelas. This is a very, very advanced stage, but this is how the process unfolds. Thereafter, the devotee sees Krishna in various places as per the attraction. And this is Swarasiki Upasana. This is like based on the rasa, the devotee is now starting to worship. This is no longer based on any just rules and injunctions of the scripture. This is very rare. This is Sudurlabha. It's very, very rare. And the bhava is developed at this stage. And Krishna's Shakti is descend onto the Chitta. And this is when the Chitta gets transformed spiritually. Shuddha Chitte Koraye Uday. What is it? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koraye Uday. So when the Shuddha Chitta is developed at this stage of bhava, the person receives a spiritual form as well. We'll just see how that happens next. When the person receives the spiritual form, from there the prema is also manifested from the Shuddha Chitta Koraye Uday. So from the Shuddha Chitta, the Krishna prema is also manifested, the Shuddha Nama. So Shravana Dasha. So now there are 5 stages in developing bhava, the goal of sadhana bhakti. And this is applicable to Nama most importantly, because that is the most important sadhana we undertake. So Shravana Dasha is the hearing about the nature of Nama and Rasa from a Nama Guru, or the Guru who gives the holy name, or the Shiksha Gurus who give the true nature of what the holy name is. Next is Varana Dasha, that is serious acceptance of the Nama within the heart. And of course, when one, if the Guru also gives a particular rasa and particular identity to the devotee, then that is also accepted by the devotee, and that is a different process, but otherwise the Nama will reveal what the rasa is. And next is the Smarana Dasha. This is most important. And one's remembrance of Krishna either can be inspired by the scripture, Vaidhi Smarana, or inspired spontaneously. Why do you like Krishna? Because he's just so attractive, I can't help it. So that is the stage of Raganuga Bhakti. And that is due to spontaneous attraction. And when the Smarana is developed like this, it deepens into what is called Apana. Now, up to the Smarana, this is sadhana bhakti, where the person is undertaking the different parts of bhakti, but has not attained bhava yet. And this is still, there is all the Shraddha, Anartha Nivritti, Bhajana Kriya, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti. The person has developed up to here, but not bhava yet. When the Apana Dasha manifests, that is where Smarana transforms into Samadhi. So those who are familiar with Yoga Sutras will know that in Ashtanga Yoga, there is Yama Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So the last parts of yoga are the most mystical and the most spiritual, we can say. And in bhakti, the similar process is there in union with Krishna. So the Apana Dasha initially starts with Smriti. The previous dasha is Smarana, remembrance. Smriti is remembering Krishna sometimes. Oh, I'm feeling low. Krishna, please, give me inspiration to continue. So sometimes the person remembers Krishna. Dharana is the remembrance becomes steady. And this actually, the person not only remembers Krishna's names, but also the forms associated with Krishna start manifesting. And dhyana is when dharana is complete. What does it mean by complete? Dharana, usually we focus on a particular aspect of Krishna's form, Krishna's name. But in dhyana, what happens is all the aspects of the Krishna's form, or the desired object in general, but Krishna's form, the completely the name beyond externality, there is a steady remembrance of all of these. And the gunas of Krishna start manifesting. And all this is beyond nishta, if you see. This is all happening continuously in the devotee's consciousness. And then there is dhruva anusmriti or anusmriti, which is the dhyana has deepened into a continuous state. So which means the person is constantly remembering Krishna, and all the qualities of Krishna come to the mind, and the form of Krishna comes to the mind. This is all still happening in the mind though. And this is like a trance kind of a stage, and which is experienced by the sadhaka in a very, very advanced stage of bhajana. And in the apana dasha, the nama, rupa, guna and leela start manifesting in the devotee's mind. And this is when bhava is attained. So this is samadhi. So samadhi is the ultimate stage if you read Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And the bhava is attained when one attains samadhi in bhakti kriya. And so the bhava is attained, and at which point the sadhaka has both the sadhaka deha as well as the siddha deha. The spiritual body and the material body start coexisting. Bhava is when the spiritual shaktis of Krishna start descending upon the soul, and the coexistence of the spiritual form and the material form occur. And after this, even beyond this, is the sampatti dasha. Sampatti is the wealth. The person actually attains the wealth of Krishna prema. Golokera prema dhana harinama sankirtana. So the dhana or the sampatti, the prema, is attained here. The material body is completely vanished suddenly. If you read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar's experience is similar. And the material body, gross and subtle, are immediately vanished. And suddenly one appears in the spiritual world. This is most mystical, and this is the power of Shuddha Nama and Prema, that where Krishna arranges for the devotee, Yogamaya arranges for the devotee to be part of Krishna's pastimes. And this is actually the highest mystery of the Holyname, which the series is named after that. So the ultimate mystery is that suddenly the material reality disappears and everything appears spiritual. Sarvam khalavidam Brahma. So everything is spiritual. The devotee is seeing everything in spiritual vision, and devotee is part of the spiritual creation. So in the highest manifestation. And this is when the prayojana or prema is attained. And now in bhava, which is the goal of sadhana bhakti, it is so intense that it is very rare to see around, and it is moksha lagutakrita. Even liberation, which is the goal of the impersonal path, appears to be very tiny. So liberation from material bondage appears very tiny in front of bhava. And two types of bhava we discussed: those who follow the rules and lead to bhava, and those who follow the spontaneous path that also leads to bhava. And eventually at bhava, the devotee transcends the regulations of the scripture as well. Where does Krishna say this? In Bhagavad Gita, there is a place. Purvabhyasena teneva hriyate hyavashopi saha jignamsurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. They go beyond the rituals of the scripture. And because their attraction now in Krishna has completely matured, and they are just relishing the sweetness, and wherever that sweetness of Krishna is taking them, they are going accordingly. And such a person is not bound by rules of this world and the material world as such. And eventually the person attains the spiritual reality as well. And so at bhava stage, Krishna appears in the mind, in the chitta. There is phurti. And there is sometimes union with Krishna, sometimes separation, and there is possessiveness. So all these sattvika bhavas like tears, hands standing on the end, all these are experienced because the devotee is undergoing so many transformations internally. If you go to, I think, Neelachala form Krishna in Orissa, you will see that there is a place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances. The stone melted. So the stone melted. Like you will see the impressions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hand, feet and body in that stone. So even Patanjali, like he describes, when one attains Samadhi, the notion of time and space appears very different for them. And so when somebody attains bhava, which is after Samadhi, their reality is very different. We sometimes may not be even able to understand them. They may appear like, inconceivable to us. So that is the stage of bhava, where the devotee is undergoing these intense spiritual transformations within and it's manifesting externally in ways that we may not understand. Sometimes the devotee is fainting, sometimes there is a foam from the mouth, this, that. Sometimes they come to external consciousness, sometimes they behave like, why is the person even doing this, so on. It's a very different and a very high stage of spiritual existence. And when the chitta is completely pure, that is the stage. What happens is, we earlier saw that chitta acts as the doer because it assumes the doership of the soul. Now the possessiveness of chitta is given away. The possessive nature is now no longer that impure chitta is doing, but it's the pure chitta driven by Krishna's Shaktis that is what is undertaking the activities. And what happens at this stage of bhava? Nayanam galadashrudharaya vadanam gadgadaruddhaya gira pulakair nichitam vapukkada tavanamagrahani bhavishyati. All these transcendental symptoms like tears flowing from the eyes like torrents of rain, throat choked and blocked, and faltering voice, hair standing on the end, those symptoms appear. That's the stage of bhava. And after bhava deepens, it gradually leads to prema. And prema is the fruit of bhava bhakti. Like sadhana bhakti, the goal is bhava. Bhava bhakti, the goal is prema. So when the bhakti lata appears, after the chitta has become pure, so the fruit of the bhakti lata appears after the chitta has completely been purified. So we saw earlier that the bud and the flower, now this is the fruit. So the fruit is prema of the bhakti lata tree. And this bhakti has the ability to attract Krishna. So Krishna is now controlled by the devotee. Though the devotee's goal is not to control Krishna, but Krishna becomes helpless. The prema attracts Krishna like a magnet. So Krishna is always with the premi bhakta. Whatever the premi bhakta says, Krishna more or less feels like, it's a very serious thing. So this is the stage when Krishna's Shaktis, especially his Kripa Shakti or the potency of compassion, which is his central Shakti, is manifest in the by the devotee's prema. And Krishna is no longer independent. At this stage, Krishna loses his independence, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains. And when this happens, the 8 Shaktis of Krishna, they are also manifest, which is there are more details, but we don't have enough time now. But basically, like the Krishna's Shaktis, they also descend upon the soul at this stage, and the soul attains the spiritual form, completely giving away the material form. And this is when Krishna appears in his Sachidananda form to the devotee, physically, for a lack of better word, but it's actually spiritually. Krishna appears in front of the devotee. In the form of the deity, he is always there. But we are unable to see him as the Sachidananda Vigraha that he is. That happens when prema is attained. Krishna not only, in bhava, Krishna manifests in the mind. The spurti is there. But in prema, Krishna manifests pratyaksha. Pratyaksha vagamyam dharmyam susukam kartum avyayam. So Pratyaksha, Krishna manifests in prema. And what happens is, when the devotee attains prema, there are two types. One is Vipralamba prema, other is Sambhoga prema. This is Vipralamba prema, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravrishyayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. It's like the whole, just one moment doesn't seem to pass. It's like a whole yuga. And the devotee's notion of time, as you can see, has become very different here. And the devotee is just waiting. When will I meet with my Krishna? When will that happen? We previously saw Tavanama, Kada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati. When will this happen? This deepens here. Chakshusha pravrishyayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. So the tears are pouring like torrents of rainfall from the monsoon clouds. And the devotee is feeling such an intense separation from Krishna. And so much so that nothing else appears meaningful in their life. And everything else is void. And the whole universe is void when Krishna is not there with the devotee. So this happens. There are two stages here as well. Purva Rupa and Dura Pravasa. Purva Raga is when the devotee feels this separation before meeting Krishna. And Dura Pravasa is the devotee staying away from Krishna in a different place. And this could happen after meeting and separating, or this could happen being in separation continuously. So when this happens, the symptoms that are manifested are seen. Next is the 8th verse, which is prema in Sambhoga. This is unconditional. Previously is also unconditional. This unconditionality is completely expressed here. This is the prema in Sambhoga or divine union. Aslishyava padaratam pinastu mam adarshanan marmahatang karotu va yatha tatha va vidhatu lampato mat prananatastu saevana para. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing that Krishna, no matter how you handle me, whether you embrace me or whether you throw me away, by make me broken hearted, I am always considering you my worshipable Lord unconditionally. You are my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So this is the mood that is expressed in Sambhoga Prema. That no matter what happens, that Krishna is unconditionally my Lord. No matter however you deal with me, it doesn't matter. One rises beyond the consideration of that I want to be in the good books of Krishna. Rather, the devotee's goal is, I just want to serve Krishna no matter how he treats me. So the devotee, and such a devotee is held by Krishna in his highest esteem. So much so that the feet of such a devotee Krishna puts on his forehead. So that is why Krishna also wears his tilak. So this is, I think, most of that, the progression in Shri Shiksha Ashtakam as commented by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And verse 1 talks about developing the faith in the glories of the Holyname Shraddha and introduces us to Bhajana Kriya. Verse 2 says why there is no Anuraga. There is no Anuraga because the Anarthas are present. Verse 3 says by performing like with humility and tolerance, by performing the Nama Sadhana with faith, one attains nishta. And verse 4 says na dhanam na janam na sundarim. I don't want anything else because I have taste in you. Why would I need anything else? That is Ruchi. And verse 5 is Kripaya tava pada pankaja stita doli sadrisham vichintaya. I have no meaning for any of the things of this world. Please just pick me up from this world and keep at your lotus feet. Asakti, intense attraction toward Krishna. Bhava, spontaneously the person is attracted, and the symptoms of sattvika bhavas are manifesting. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravrishyayitam. And we saw the Vipralamba and Sambhoga Prema, the last two. So that is pretty much what we have for today. And Mataji, I sent another PDF also, if you could please share that. So I hope it added some value to all the devotees in their sadhana. And this is my humble contribution to serve the holy name. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a compilation from all those books that were listed in there. And some of them like end to end, and some excerpts from there. And since we have a little more time now, so I would like to just present my offering to the holy name, who has allowed me to venture into his mysteries and share them with all of us. And I hope that it is pleasing to the holy name. So this is a verse that I had composed for the pleasure of the holy name with na and ma. So the verse only uses the consonants na and ma, and it tries to express the mood of Shikshashtakam across the 8 verses. So for the pleasure of Radha Madan Mohan, who are non-different from their holy names. Mana amanumanina mani mana mamanina nunam muni mani nama 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 manin nama. So this is how the verse goes. The meaning is, worship the Chintamani jewel like the holy name, or Shuddha Nama, with full conviction, O fallen mind. So it is addressing the mind to be fully absorbed in the holy name, which is like a Chintamani. By giving up mental speculation without considerations of honor, that is to completely surrender to the name. Though the holy name of Krishna is the supreme jewel that is possessed by the pure devotees, the foremost of sages, there is no limit to his compassion. And the compassion, the potency of grace, is the very form of Srimati Radharani herself. So anyway, there is more description about how each of the verses of Shikshashtakam are partially encapsulated into one or the other words in here. And this composition belongs to the genre called Chitra Kavya, or poetry that captivates, because it only uses the 2 consonants, though it uses other vowels, but only 2 consonants, na and ma. And this is from the first verse, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It is the mana that is addressed. And then there is which is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Akaro, that he is the Akara. And Akara stands for Radharani, who comes from Krishna. And that is represented. And then there is the word Amanina, which is from the 3rd verse, not expecting any honor. And the 4th verse is Ma Anumanina, without any speculation, giving up speculation. And Shloka 5, there is Patitam Vishamay Bhavambudo. So that is exemplified by the word Ama, which indicates an unhealthy state of the mind. And in the Shloka 6, the Nama is described as the ecstatic, gives the ecstatic symptoms of bhava, and held in the highest respect, which is given by Anama Nama Manin Nama. The Nama, which is supreme, is bow down to that Nama. And in Shloka 7, there is the sense of urgency that is described with the word Nunam. And in Shloka 8, the independence of the Supreme Lord is described, which is described by the word Anama. Anama is one who does not need to bow down to anybody else, or the supremely independent. So that way, this is a humble offering to Sri Harinam Prabhu and Radha Madan Mohan, and for the pleasure of all devotees. I hope you liked it. Okay, and that's all I have for today. So thank you so much. I think we have 2 minutes. So if there is any one question or so, please. 3 minutes, I think. Mataji is here, so.
Hare Krishna, Ruchi. Thank you so much for going deep into many books and giving the essence to us. Actually, it's very intense and it's difficult to remember the questions also, the doubts that arose in between. But one question I have is, you said that after nishta, from the nishta stage, the chitta starts becoming transparent, right? It reflects the reality. So you also said that there are two kinds of reality. One is about ourselves and another is about the Supreme Lord, right? But what exactly about the Supreme Lord starts reflecting from that point of time? Because from the bhava stage only, you said the form of the Supreme Lord is manifested.
Yes. This is a very good question. And so the chitta completes its transformation and becomes sattva in the stage of asakti. The transformation starts from the stage of nishta, which is like fire, and starts to purify the chitta. By the time one gets to asakti, slowly the person's attraction for a particular form of the Lord has deepened. The devotee starts to remember the Lord in that particular form, with those particular qualities, in that particular lila. So this happens along with the deepening of the apana dasha. And by the time bhava is attained, which means only the person is at the asakti level, the smarana is already remembering the name, form, qualities, and slowly starting to remember the pastimes as well. And this is the stage when the chitta is completely reflecting. Before that, the reflection is still partial, it is getting purified, it's there. And even prior to nishta, when the bhajana kriya just starts, depending on whatever the swabhava of the devotee, past conditionings are there, it only reflects that much. But from nishta onward, the direction is clear. So it is in the direction of purification. And asakti is when the purification is almost we can say mostly complete. Initial stages of bhava. So by bhava, there are no anarthas left. But asakti is where most of them are gone as well. The person has developed so much deep attraction for Krishna and no more attraction for material things. So that is when the reflection of the Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, they are manifesting in the mind of the devotee. And in bhava, the lila also manifests. So we saw how that 5 stages of apana dasha are smriti, dharana, dhyana, dhruvana smriti, and samadhi. So in that order, there is a progression before the bhava is attained as well. So this happens during the asakti stage. The samadhi is attained almost at that stage where the yoga's chitta vritti nirodha is. The chitta vrittis are completely stopped now. So the transparency of the chitta is there to be able to reflect the supreme reality. And of course, the spiritual body, everything is coming during bhava. But before then, this reflection, Bhagavad Bhimba Grahitvam, it occurs in asakti stage. And it starts showing up after nishta progressively. So the direction is right.
So nishta stage, there is no clear perception of...
Not yet. It will, that's why tada rajas tamo bhava, it's just starting to go away. The rajas and tamas bhavas are going away, slowly paving the way for the sattvika bhavas, the shuddha sattva. So rajas and tamas are going down there. And from there is when the evam prasanna manaso, the slowly it's a sequence, and that's why the stages are labeled as such. But from nishta onward, the person is along the progressive path.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for patiently listening, and please pardon any of the offenses or mistakes that I might have committed. My only intention is to render some service based on my nature. So I hope all of you accept. And Mataji, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just take the mic and that's it. Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. First week of June, so summer break is starting for the children, but we are continuing our series with the presentations given by the Kaishora class, which is the age group of 12 to 14 years of children in our congregation. And we are starting a new book called Disapproved But Not Disowned by Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. And so what does this mean? I want to quote from his book, the introduction. He says, "Ignorance is not the cause of every mistake. We commit wrong actions unknowingly and knowingly too. It is our attachment to the pleasure in the activity that makes us pay no heed to the good advice to avoid it." So the question is, what do? We know that mistakes happen. I can commit mistakes, others can commit mistakes. What do we do about it? And especially in a spiritual life, the responsibility becomes a lot more. And also the tendency to reject, someone who's a wrongdoer becomes kind of an inherent reflection of our own false ego, actually. So his realization is, disapproval of mistakes cautions people to be careful. So chastisement is needed, but the mood behind punishment must be rectification and not rejection. Then it leads to transformation. Otherwise, it might just alienate people. So we don't want to alienate anyone because of the mistakes they do, or even ourselves. So hate the sin, not the sinner, as they say. So disapproved, but not disowned. That's the title of the book. And the chapter today is going to be started today by Radhika, going to be presented on the 3 Bharats. So learnings from the Bhagavatam on this topic. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. My name is Radhika, and my presentation today is going to be on the story of the 3 Bharats. The greatest fears in spiritual life are deviation from bhakti and gliding down to lower species. So how can we save ourselves from this downfall? In Bhagavad Gita 9:27, Krishna says, "Yat karosi yadashnasi, yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyesi konteya, tat kurusva madarpanam." Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that as an offering to me. Thus we see that dedicating all the activities in our relationship to Krishna, it ensures that we always remember him, and we never deviate from the path of bhakti. I will now explain this further through the story of the 3 Bharats. Okay. In his first life, King Bharat was born as a son of sage Rishabdev. He ruled the earth for 10 million years before retiring to the holy place of Pulashram. There, he became completely engrossed in his spiritual practices. One day, while he was sitting on the banks of the river Gandaki, he saw a pregnant deer drinking water. Suddenly, they heard the roar of a lion, and out of fear, the deer leaped across the river. During this, her baby fell from her womb and into the waters. Feeling compassion for the deer, King Bharat took the baby back to his ashram and cared for it like his own child. Over time, he became completely attached to the deer, and his spiritual practices dwindled. He was completely overcome by the fear that something would happen to his deer, and he would do everything with it and take it everywhere. Once, when the deer wandered off into the forest, Sage Bharat his mind became completely distressed, and he was anxiously waiting the return of his deer. At his time of death, Sage Bharat was only worried that what would happen to his deer after he died. Thinking of this, he left his body. Bhagavad Gita 8.6 says, "Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha." Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. But Sage Bharat's compassion to the deer wasn't wrong in any way, but the fact that he showed excessive attention to it was a mistake. Gaurang Darshan Prabhu says in his book, compassion can create complications in spiritual life if it is based on material considerations, because matter can trap the mind and distract one's spiritual quest. Aligning oneself with the prescriptions and prohibitions of spiritual life is of vital importance to a sadhaka. Any negligence or inattentiveness creates chaos. In his next life, Bharat was born as a deer. Due to Krishna's will, he was able to remember all his bhakti from his previous life. He would lament on his mistakes and the loss of his spiritual practices. Bharat the deer became completely detached and left his mother at Kalanjara mountain. He returned to Pulhashrama, careful not to fall into any bad association. There, he was constantly thinking of Lord Vishnu and anxiously waiting to get out of his deer body. Bharat the deer gave up his body thinking of the Lord. It usually takes several lifetimes to return to the human life after taking the form of an animal. But due to the fact that Bharat's form was the will of the Lord and not because of his past karma, he returned to a human form in his next life. Jada Bharat. In his final birth, he was born as Jada Bharat. Due to the Lord's will, he was still able to remember everything from his past 2 lives. Jada Bharat was called as such because he never interacted with many people and he was always oblivious to everything. He didn't want any materialistic things to obstruct his spiritual path. His father tried many times to teach him, but was unsuccessful as Bharat did not care for any of it. After his father died, he was raised by his 9 brothers who believed that he was useless and put him to work in the fields. They fed him spoiled and leftover foods, but Bharat never complained. He only wanted to complete his work in this world and return back to the spiritual world. One day, some thieves wanted to make an offering to goddess Kali. While looking for someone, they came across Bharat. Being completely attached to the Lord, he did not protest and went along with the thieves. After the necessary preparations, the chief priest wanted to please goddess Kali with Bharat's blood. But before he could lower his sword, goddess Kali emerged from the deity and killed all the thieves as they dared to harm a devotee of the Lord. Bharat, through all of this, remained completely undisturbed. Some time later, he came across King Rahugana. He accepted the king as his disciple and gave him his spiritual teachings. Eventually, he attained the eternal perfection by the Lord's grace. Gaurang Darshan Prabhu says, someone who is fulfilled within due to spiritual love doesn't hanker for material affection and doesn't get disturbed by material insults or appreciation. In conclusion, the 3 Bharats were all one person in different lives. By the mercy of the Lord, his detachment from matter and devotion to Krishna only increased through the change of bodies. The duration of his 2 lives as deer and brahmana were small as compared to his previous eternal life of devotion. But the realizations that he got were profound, and he could intensify his absorption in the Supreme Lord. Thus, we can learn from these stories that even the slightest of deviation through material love and compassion can derail our spiritual progress. Having material love and compassion isn't wrong by itself, but we need to ensure that we do not get attached in a way that hinders and distracts us from our spiritual and main goal of Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Wow, amazing. Any questions or reflections for Radhika?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Hi Krishna, Radhika, very nicely presented.
Thank you.
Story of the 3 Bharats is something Maharaj always brings back to us to remind us that spiritual path is not it's not always a one lifetime goal. And Krishna is always constantly taking care of us. I liked one of your quotes that you put from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. I had a question on that. He said, a person who is spiritually fulfilled will not seek material affection. What do you think is the most important thing for us to feel spiritually fulfilled? To find that affection within?
Yeah. That's good?
Yes, someone who is fulfilled within due to spiritual love doesn't hanker for material affection. That is such a big goal in this lifetime. So I was wondering, do you think you have any suggestions to find that fulfillment with spiritual love? What processes do you recommend in bhakti?
One way is by chanting the holy names of the Lord, since with that you can connect with the Lord in a way and try to fulfill that hole you have in your soul, try to get that spiritual love. So through that you don't have to think of like material things.
Nice. Thank you.
No, for the answer for this question, you should go back to the first sloka you mentioned. Go back to the first sloka.
This one?
No, first sloka. So you can put it here? The first sloka, what is the first sloka?
Yat karosi.
Yeah. So basically, like when you do yat karosi, yadasnasi, when you are basically continuously dedicated your each and every activity to the spiritual, to Krishna, there is no way you will be materially attached, right? And that's what even Prabhupada says, like basically what we have to do is yukta vairagya. Basically doubting each and every material activity in our spiritual life. It's very difficult it's easy to tell that, it's difficult to practice for us, but that is the way we can actually achieve that.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just want to add to that fantastic question that Prabhu's presentation this morning is all about the progression. Shikshashtakam, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's only like teachings which he actually gave from his own realization, and he's the Lord himself giving that mercy, right? For this age, the progress in spiritual life is gradual, but it is definite, and the levels are all there in the Shikshashtakam. How we can gradually, step by step, progress from that so-called attachment. And Bhagavad Gita also says that, right? Work in devotion. We cannot give up our occupational duties right away. We cannot give up our, duties for the family right away. We cannot give up our duties as students or any other person. We cannot give up work. But better to work in devotion than to not work at all. And devotion means, in our sampradaya, we know, and actually every religion of this world, every faith, emphasizing on chanting the holy names of the Lord. Whatever bona fide names of the Lord, they have power. They are eternal. And they spiritually connect us to the Lord. So even while fighting on the battlefield, and even while doing our occupational duties, our work, if we can think of the Lord and chant His names, then we are doing work in devotion, and that culminates in what Prabhu just said, that we will transcend the material energy while being in the material energy. That's my take on that.
So one more question, right? So what is the connection between this story and the title of the book?
In this story, we see that the mistakes that Bharat made were disapproved as he derailed from his spiritual practices for material love and compassion. But we also see that Lord Krishna gave his mercy on Bharat, giving him 3 lifetimes to rectify his mistakes, thus giving the title disapproved but not disowned.
Any shloka or translation from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says he gives opportunity?
You want to call a friend or anyone from the audience?
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu can answer. 6 chapter.
What, Prabhuji? Oh, she can use her phone to call a teacher, call a father. Prabhu, you want to enlighten us? Which verse? No, it's okay. I don't know which verse you're thinking of, actually.
Like one of What you mentioned, right? The unsuccessful yogi basically is born in a devotional family or in a rich family, and basically he gets that further chance to progress in his next spiritual life. So,
Right.
trying to get that sloka.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu, you have a question?
So the father is asking difficult questions to the daughter. A very beautiful presentation. Thank you. I just wanted to share a reflection that it was very striking to see that this is the same person across different lives. So similarly, like in our life, we go through different circumstances. I liked how you brought the points out, which are what Bharat Maharaj illustrated when he was a king, and like attaining bhava, and how what he illustrated in the life of a deer, and thereafter as Jada Bharat, what he illustrated. So it got me thinking that okay, he's the same person, just the lives have changed. Similarly, in our life also many circumstances change. So we are the same person, so we have to like take the precedents from the scripture and conduct ourselves accordingly. So thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Amazing. Yes, Yash.
Hare Krishna. Do you know by chance why Jad Bharat was called Jad Bharat? Like, what does Jad mean?
Basically, Jada Bharat was called that as Jada basically means like someone who's like ignorant, and like says in his life he never paid attention to much, he never reacted, he never interacted, and basically Jada means like how he was like people consider him deaf, dumb. He never did anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about this Jada Vidya, which means material education or material something which does not culminate in higher knowledge. So Jada means someone who's useless for the society. From a society point of view, he was dumb, deaf. He was, of course, not revealing his true nature. So, yeah. I really had the reflection from your presentation that how each lifetime, even though the first lifetime was the longest lifetime, he ruled for 10 million years. That's a long life of devotion, actually. But the consecutive lifetimes, the amount of progress that he made relatively was a lot more. So it's not the time, the length of the duration that matters, it's the realization and the condensed progress that a person can make is what takes that person forward. So I was reminded how actually Prabhupada has empowered the souls in Kali Yuga to make those, huge jumps of spiritual progress and cleansing and purification. Although sometimes we are taken aback and overwhelmed by material energy, actually it's all good. We are being purified for the right thing, and Krishna knows the best. So that was my realization. Thank you so much, Radhika. That was excellent. A big round of applause to you. Thank you to all the audience for wonderful realization and bringing this discussion out. And we'll move on to the next part of the program now, which is Guru Puja. So we request all of you to please put the mats away and just prepare the room for Guru Puja. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Shri Guru Charana Padma. Oh, you have to. Namas. Okay. Oh no. Okay, Mari. Translation first. Go back. I forgot. Nama Shreshtam Manu Api Sachiputram Athra Sarupam Shri Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Madhurim Goshtavathim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. He Guru Jnanadadhina Bandho Swananda Dhata Karunaika Sindhu Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. He Dina Bandhu Karunaika Sindhu Kuru Prasadam Mai Manda Mudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapa Ghade Tatapad Padme Sumatischa Krishne. Naivo Payanti Apachitim Kavayastavesha Brahmayushapi Kritamriddha Mudasmarantha Yo Antarbahistanu Ashubham Vidunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Vainakti. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose costless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachimata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore, grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as a super soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Vandamo Isavadhano Mate. Vandamo Isavadhano Mate. Vandamo Jahar Prasade Bhai Ye Bhavatoriya Jaya Har Prasade Bhai Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Guru mukha padma vakya chitta koriya aikya. Guru Harona koriho mane asa. Karuna koriho mane asa. Shri Guru charane rati aise uttama gati. Shri Guru Jai prasad pure sarva asha. Jai prasad pure sarva asha. Jai prasad चक्षुजान दिलो जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु सै. दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित. प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते. प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते. वेदेगा यह रचरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधमा जानरा बंधु. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adara Janama Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Aha Prabhu karo daya deha more pado chaya. Aha Prabhu karo daya deha more pado chaya. Ebe yad gusto pribhuana. Ebe yad gusto pribhuana. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Guru Deva Loilo Sarana. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jaya. Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jai Gurudeva, Jaya. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura. Nama Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaho. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Namaste. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavayo Namah, Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavayo Namah, Yadavayo Madhavayo Keshavayo Namah, Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudana, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha, Echai Goshai Kori Charana Vandana, Jaha Hoite Vigna Nasha Vishta Puran, Echai Goshai Jar Mohita Rodar, Echai Tan Sabara Padarenu Mora Panchagrasa, Tandera Charana Se Bhakta Saneva, Janame Ho Yehi Abhilash, Echai Goshai Jabe Braja Koilavad, Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korilo Prakash Shri Anande Bolo Hari Bhajo Vrindavan Anand Oh Anande Bolo Hari Bhajo Vrindavan Anand Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Pajayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriya Shri Guru Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Narottama Das Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavayo Namaha Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavayo Namaha Yadavayo Madhavayo Keshavayo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jai Gauranitai, Jai Gaur. Jaya Mahaprabhu, 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 Jai Mahaprabhu, Jai. Jayo Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Jai Shri Radhe. Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jai Prahlad Narasimha, Jai Lakshmi Narasimha, Jai Prahlad Narasimha, Jai Lakshmi. Jayo Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Jai Pancha Tattva, Jai Pancha. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura. हरिदास संकीर्तन की जय. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शीला प्रभुपाद की जय. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर शीला प्रभुपाद की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शीला हरिदास ठाकुर की. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की. श्री वृंदावन धाम की. श्री मथुरा धाम की. श्री मायापुर नवदीप धाम की. श्री अयोध्या धाम की. जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र की. श्री गंगा माई यमुना माई की. तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की. सामवेद भक्त वृंद की. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की. हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की. ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki. Who does it? Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday morning to the ISV here, Mountain View. I would like to thank our speaker, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, for giving the class today on Sixtastakam. So we'll like to chant Hari Bol 3 times for him. Hari Bol! 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Okay. Also like to thank Radhika for giving the Kaishwara presentation today, which was on the topic of 3 Bharatas. And basically it's a book by His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, where it talks about how Krishna doesn't disown us, but he disapproves many of our acts, but he does never disown us. And that basically should be a motivation for us to continue our spiritual practices to the full extent possible. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, and we'll have also Vaishya Prabhu back in town, so come down tomorrow for an extended kirtan, including the evening kirtan and program, Krishna Katha and kirtan. And I think we'll have book distribution spots all over Bay Area today. So if you want to like to join for that, please contact Malini Mataji or Kameshwari Mataji. You're also doing book distribution, Western Sankirtan. You're in Western Sankirtan? Book distribution. Okay, yeah. We have Adin Prabhu. You can talk to him for any book distribution, Western spots for book distribution. Okay. And we'll have prasadam now, outside, served outside. We'll have prasadam prayers, and after that we'll have prasadam. Yeah, and we'll also like to thank broadcast team led by our Grace Kashangi Mataji. Okay. Hari Bol. Also, if you have time, I think we have some volunteers, some guests coming in from San Ramon. A lot of kids are coming in. So if you would like to stay, I think Hansa Prema is going to take them around and show them the temple and what we do. If somebody wants to stay back and talk to them and explain how we do our Krishna consciousness, etc. They are from Balvihar, Chinmaya Mission. So it will be nice for them to understand our perspective of what we do in Krishna consciousness. So if you want to stay back and talk to them, it will be great. Okay. Hare Krishna. So prasadam prayer now. Sharira Vidya Jal Jodendriya Tahe Ka Jiva Pele Vishaya Sagare Taramade Jivai Hoti Lobo Moi Sudurmati Take Jeta Kotina Samsare Krishna Bada Doyamay Korivare Jivajoy Swaprashadhana Dilobai Sayanamrita Pavo Shri Shri Radha Krishna Guna Gavo Preme Dako Sri Chaitanya Nitai Preme Dako Sri Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Talpa Punyavitam Rajan Vishwaso Nevajayate Prasade Sarva Dukkanam Anirasho Vajayate Prasanna Cheta Soyasu Buddhi Paryavatistaste Bhavoksha Bhakta Shragganda Vasuvalankara Chastita Uchishta Bhojano Dasa Swayamayam Jayemahi Bhagavad Sri Mahaprasadam Ki Jai. We are also thankful to the cooks who cooked today's prasadam. So we can now honor prasadam outside, and if you could stay back to help out with cleaning, it will be very helpful.